Hello to all my fellow glorious Gaians. Thank you for joining me, Amber, on my channel, Guidance Through Gaia, where I do tarot pick-a-card readings. If this is your first time here, welcome, and I hope that you find something that resonates with you today. And if you are a returning viewer, I am so appreciative that you're giving me another opportunity to read for you. I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been leaving comments. It's really like a morale booster and a motivator for me to continue doing this. I mean, I do genuinely love it, but I'm not here to just talk to myself, right? And, you know, I always want to encourage you guys to leave like recommendations for topics. Let me know ways in which I can also accommodate you. I know somebody had made a comment that the stones really helped them in pile selection, so I want to do that more often. And I'm always open to critiques as well. As far as I'm concerned, this is a skill and there's always room for improvement. I can probably thank my Sagittarius moon for that. Like I'm very drawn to growth and learning. So once again, thank you to everybody who interacts with me and my content. So the question that we have today, it's focusing around like your ideal life, your dream life, and the journey that can lead you to that. We have 3 piles here, and they're represented by an animal and by a stone. I want to take this time to apologize. In here in Minnesota, we're still experiencing a lot of smoke coming down from California, shit, Canada, and I haven't closed my windows, so I'm constantly like there getting that smoky air, which by the way, if you're in Canada, I really hope you guys are safe. Just hang tight, and hopefully this is something that can get cleared up soon. The 3 piles that we have to look at, so we start off with pile number 1. We have the chameleon, and we have the tree agate. We have pile number 2 with the wolf and citrine. We have pile number 3 with the snail and ruby and fuchsite. So what we're going to do is now that I've drawn the stones too, I'm also going to look at the meanings behind the stones to see how it fits in the picture. And we've got these pre-shuffled oracle cards that are going to talk in detail about your dream life. And if you find that the majority of that fits what your vision is, we're going to be taking tarot and we're going to be looking into the questions of what are things you have already done independently that have created a foundation for that dream life? What are new actions you can take? And what's going on behind the scenes that's getting you closer? Then we're going to be, for each category of that, we're going to be looking at a card from the Sacred Creators Oracle. And then just in general, we'll get some like angel numbers from those oracle cards. So go ahead, take a moment, choose your pile or piles, and I'll see you there. Bye. Hello, group number 1. You chose the chameleon card and or the tree agate. So we are going to get a look into all about your ideal life and the journey that can help get you there. So we're going to start with a description of what that ideal life is. So we're going to look at what the moss agate means. Then we've got the chameleon and orange blossom. We've got card number 15 in reverse. It says One Ring Circus. We've got this beautiful card, and it says number 25 with the confident. Affirmation, I honor all I have done to make me who I am today. We've got card number 64 with the offering. And then the teamwork building card. Oh, how do I want to do this? I want to put this like Maybe I should practice this before I ever, like, lay stuff out. I don't know. Ich weiß nicht. Okay, so I did some research about the cards themselves and the elements, and I'm going to incorporate that into my interpretation of what your ideal life is like. So this is, your ideal life is very heavily influenced by what you have been through. Group number one. There's a lot of emotions here. So what I've seen with this spread is that it's very likely you have felt outcast, rejected, maybe, and when I say these words, I'm not going to say them as like confirmations of any feeling of truth of that. You may deal with like intrusive thoughts, a lot of negative thoughts, but you may have also felt like you were incompetent. I feel like you've been somebody who has been put down a lot in your life, or that maybe there have been expectations placed upon you, even by yourself, that if you haven't been able to meet those expectations in the way that was laid out or developed, or within the time frame, I feel like you're somebody who took that very harshly. So the overall, I mostly wanted to leave this open-ended, but I did take a couple of cards with very specific ideas in mind. So when we're looking at the chameleon, the animal card that I chose, when I pulled that, I was asking like the overall feeling or energy of what your future looks like to you, what you want. And the chameleon, so just intuitively, you know, and how chameleons are kind of talked about and represented in popular culture, the chameleon can be all about blending in. You might not be somebody who, if there are unique things about you, whether it's like your physical appearance, or maybe you're somebody who has like a speech impediment, or you're neurodivergent, maybe there's a skill of yours that stands out a lot that makes you feel insecure. Like sometimes, oh, I always do this lately. I keep forgetting to lower my light. Don't dim your light. But sometimes, like if we're watching a movie or something, there can be somebody who's really smart about like math or whatever, but they kind of hide it because they're afraid that people will call them like a nerd, and have these preconceived ideas about them. There might be something about you that really stands out, and there's an energy of kind of wanting to suppress that a little bit, or wanting it to be less noticeable. If you have like a physical disability that's more noticeable, I think your future in your mind is where there are other qualities about you that stand out so much more, that the physical disability isn't the first thing that people notice. And I know it's hard, you know, when we're such complex creatures, but on the same token, when we are observing things, we try to break it down to like the bare bones and the minimum, just naturally, psychologically. And we're very, for those of us who have sight, you know, we are very visually oriented creatures. And in an attempt to retain as much information as possible, as efficiently as possible, we overgeneralize. We make assumptions. you know, and there are people who are less self-aware and do never try to improve upon that deficit. And they're completely content to have a very one-dimensional view of reality and of people. And then there are people who are more self-aware and they recognize when they have a very simplistic view of something or someone, and they're willing to expand beyond that. So I think that's what you're looking for, though. I think you want to become somebody who is less, you know, stereotyped or typecast or judged based on a quality of yours that might not be as prominent or as visible in the rest of your community. Even if, like, for instance, you're a person of color and you are in a predominantly white community, or vice versa, you know, where there's like, even if you're from the same country, there could still be a little bit of like a cultural difference, or people are just noticing like the color of your skin and they're not, which is beautiful. I mean, like, the color of our skin is magnificent. But you might feel like that's the quality that stands out about you the most in your community, and you want people to really value you for who you are as a person and not the generalizations they've made about people who share similar skin tones. According to the book, this card represents good fortune, good luck, and harmony. And the chameleon is talking about blending in. And so the feeling of your ideal future to me is coming across as if you may feel like you need an external blessing in order to achieve what it is that you want. You might see your ideal future as being like good fortune, good luck, and could even just be that maybe you've been really struggling lately, or you've had a very difficult past. And so when you are imagining what your future, what your ideal future looks like, you're just feeling this sense of awe and of good fortune. I come back to the concept of harmony, because it sounds like you've lived a lifetime where there's been a lot of discord, a lot of stress, a lot of disharmony in your life. And, you know, you're imagining this future where, hey, enough. You're imagining this future where you can finally breathe, you can rest, you know, you're not constantly on autopilot, you're not constantly in like fight or flight mode. Then I also looked, when I was pulling the archetype card here, this is supposed to represent the version of yourself that is like your ideal future self. And so we have 25, I'll read it again, the confident. I honor all I have done to make me who I am today. And so for as much as I think you want to blend in, and I think there's a part of the past that you kind of want to leave behind, more so I think just the feelings of anxiety, disapproval, insecurity. I think you also see a future for yourself where like you recognize that what you've been through has helped make you this person. I don't think that you take the past versions of yourself or the circumstances that you've been through and treat it as like, I don't think you're a defeatist. You know, I don't think you are somebody who says, well, I was born into this circumstance, or this has been my entire life and there's nothing I can ever do to change it. I don't think that you how do I want to phrase that? I think you see and depending on the circumstance, what you've been through, I don't know if I want the value that you can create. Okay, because for instance, like, nobody should have to suffer. You know, they talk about like, oh, suffering makes you stronger. Well, screw that. Like, we shouldn't have to suffer. Like, nobody deserves that, Mother Teresa. If you know, you know. But I think that you are somebody who can take the past that you've been through and respect it, and say, like, it happened. It is what it is. I'm not going to let this hold me back. But I do think that, you know, you struggle with confidence and you see yourself as somebody who genuinely becomes more confident, you know, in the way that they dress, in the job that they hold, in the way that they talk, in, you know, confidence in your financial security, confidence in your social group. So this card is just filled with symbolism, and we'll talk briefly about it. So these are actually called, like, in the booklet, they're labeled as like jutting rocks. And what that's supposed to represent is kind of like the hard times that this character has been through, but they're, you know, behind her now. It makes me think of like the Six of Swords. You know, we're moving into calmer waters. And the fence up here represents weaknesses, you know, the barriers that this character has placed upon herself. And they're above her head, you know, showing that she's learned from them, you know, that she recognizes them. These mirrors represent her strengths. And we've got a female in this mirror, a male here, and this eye. And so it's, to me, representing, you know, you see yourself as somebody who is able to balance your feminine side, your masculine side, and your higher level of consciousness. You know, somebody who you don't feel like you're giving too much, or you don't feel like you're too soft, you don't feel like you're too aggressive, and you feel connected to your intuition, to your spirituality, or just, you know, connected to yourself. You may be currently or in the past have problems with feeling connected to yourself. You may feel very disconnected, just kind of like, who am I versus like who I want to be, or like how other people see me. I gotta point out, this looks like a little baby Donald Trump. I'm sorry, I just had to. The bird here within the booklet talks about this bringing this character good news, that as long as she offers herself the same respect that she would grant to other people, the happiness will come to her. There's so much more that goes in depth with this card. You know, we've got the cherub going on about the angel, looking to the heavens. Ultimately, this card does talk about having a strong sense of confidence, but not giving way to ego. I think you're somebody who is very conscientious about that. Like, you don't want to be somebody who has a big head, who looks down on others, who creates like kind of a mental prison for yourself where you think you know everything, you've done everything, and you're not willing to grow. I think you see yourself being somebody, or you want to be somebody who has the confidence to admit, you know, when they were wrong, or to stand up for themselves, you know, to establish, I know what I know, but also to be willing to grow and expand and learn. Specifically, this card talks too about being somebody positive, and how that draws us to other positive people and to positive experiences. So if you've been surrounded by a lot of negative people in your life, this vision of yours about who you are in your future is somebody who is able to reject negative relationships or negative experiences, negative being experiences that do not offer you any improvement, even if they're hard. But so experiences that will simply deplete you or take advantage of you, and the same with people. And keeping this level of optimism about you and moving in a way and being the type of person that draws in people who respect you, who value you, who love you, and that you can be your true self with and have pleasurable experiences, healthy experiences. Now, these other 3 cards are more generalized. I want to take a look at One Ring Circus in reverse, 15. I believe 15 represents the Devil card. And so in reverse, they can talk about breaking the chains. I'm thinking of Fleetwood Mac now, break the chains. You may feel currently as if you are, and I don't want to focus too much on the past, but I feel like the past is really a reflection of what you're striving for in the future. But you may have felt bound to, a certain lifestyle or your family, your friend group, a religion, a political belief, a career, a country. And in the future that you wish for yourself, that you want to, it's like your ideal version of your life, you see yourself breaking free from that. I see a couple of things with this card just intuitively. So when we're talking about a One Ring Circus, the idea of a circus to me means something not taken seriously, something that's kind of poked fun at, that's for the humor, at the, it's for entertainment for others, at the expense of the participants. And I think you want to be seen as somebody who is taken very seriously. If you feel like you're kind of a joke right now, or if you're undermined, your future is that turning around where you are respected, where you are valued. And with it being a One Ring Circus, and we're talking about harmony, and then we've got this teamwork building here. I think that you see a future for yourself where there is a strong community. Excuse me, I needed a drink. But a future for yourself where you don't feel like you are having to shoulder the responsibility, or where you feel that other people actively want to participate. You may feel like somebody who is kind of a loner right now, somebody who might be an introvert, but you just might not have found the right community of people who share your interests, who value your skills. And this could talk about wanting to build a family, looking for a partner. If you've been in relationships where you were really undermined and talked down to, I think your ideal future is finding somebody who treats you as an equal, who treats you with respect, who sees you as an autonomous human being and not as property. This could also talk about if you have career aspirations. Maybe there's a project that you're working on where other people don't necessarily see the value in it, or don't think that you are capable of reaching the goals that you've set. And so you're really looking for people who believe in you. In this future that you're envisioning, you're seeing people who support your idea. If you have like a Kickstarter, people who are donating to it, people who want to be a part of your team, there's this image of you being confident and being independent, but also having genuine, healthy relationships. One thing that I thought was really interesting about the description in this card, so I didn't notice that. Okay, so the caption on this card reads, "You are capable and confident." Holy smack, the confident here. So you see a future where you are, like, you feel capable and confident, and others recognize that you are capable and confident. There was a description here that talks about 2 trees planted side by side, sharing sunlight equally, no overshadow. And so there's a really strong image, like a sense of balance here, group number 1, where there is balance in your life. You are respected and you respect others. And with this card, it talks about being able to set boundaries. That might be something that you've not been able to do in the past, but in the future, you see yourself as somebody who is going to have a strong set of boundaries. And just look at this, you've got this person here on this elephant, and elephants are all about like longevity and knowledge. And they're isolated on this ocean here, on this rock. And so you're standing on this knowledge, group number 1. You're standing on this idea, even if it's just about who you are, like the fact that you have value, that you matter, that you, oh my God, I'm going to cry. And you just want other people to see it. Oh boy. We've got a lot of moon imagery here too. We've got, especially like crescent moon, we've got the moon here, in 64 with the offering, and then we've got the moon here. The offering talks about sacrifice. I do feel for some of you this is talking about in your ideal future, you're receiving an offering. It could be a romantic offering. It could be like a scholarship offering. It could be a job offering. But I feel like, there's this part of you that sees this, envisions this reality where, where people are either, it could be even like people are paying you for your services. If you've been working on a project and you haven't seen a lot of financial gain in that, you haven't seen a lot of interest in it, there's the future that you're trying to move towards is an envisioning of people who are literally like coming to you offering like, hey, can I buy this from you? Hey, can you do this for me? Even offering like, I want you to come work for me, or I want you to be a part of our group. The offering itself, makes a point of talking about sacrifice. Sometimes how we have to sacrifice things. And, I'm starting to think too, like, you see, when we talk about sacrifice or offerings, and we've got the moon here, the moon is often described as being in relation to like wisdom, connection to spirituality, intuition. Your future can talk about, your ideal future can involve you offering your wisdom to others. It can also be someone coming to you like as a mentor an offering to help you grow in whatever path you're currently on. But it talks about how sacrifices can sometimes be concerning. They can be scary. They can be intimidating. But remember that sacrifice is related to something sacred. And so your ideal future may be talking about having to leave behind home, leave behind belongings, leave behind the comfortability of like old skills so that you can move into something fresher, into newer. You know, there's this understanding of like, I'm going to have to give up something to move to somewhere else. And then it specifically references Odin's eye and how Odin sacrifices eye. And I vaguely recall the myth. It's about like he went to this well to gain knowledge, but he had to make a sacrifice in order to drink from the well. And I want to say it had something to do with like his son. Was it Balder? I can't remember. But he sacrificed his literal eyeball to gain knowledge, and to gain wisdom. I want to say for some of you, your ideal future may involve living in a country where these colors are prominent. We've got blue, red, and white. And I keep being called to, I don't know much about the particular artist, but I really hope to one day own one of her pieces. Her name is Sangjukta Mitra. She's an artist, creative coach. She's actually here in Minnesota, and she's from India. And her paintings are phenomenal. She does multimedia. And she's self-taught. So I would really encourage you to go look up her work. But she taught everything to herself. And I feel like for some of you that might be very important. Also, I just think she's fantastic. And I went to like an art exhibit of hers and literally cried because it was so beautiful. But if that sounds like what you imagine your perfect life to be like, we're going to look at 3 different categories. We're going to look at the foundation you have already laid to get to this, new action you can take, and then what's going on behind the scenes that is moving you closer to this. So I just want direct, clear answers. You may also, for part of your, some of you may see yourself as an activist. You could really see yourself giving to people who are in need, fighting for justice. Okay, so what foundation has group 1 already laid themselves to get closer to this reality? Okay. We've got the 7 of Swords here in reverse with the 8 of Pentacles in reverse. I'm thinking I'm going to talk about these individually so I can focus better. So for one, this tells me mentally you are very open to understanding your flaws. You are very open to understanding where you don't have all the information, where your skills need improvement. And for some people, you know, we can become very defensive if someone points out an area that needs improvement of ours. I think whether it's natural to you or you've developed it, you you have been able to let go of those defenses. I think you're somebody who does constantly want to grow. And you may actually have started the process somehow of learning how to improve certain qualities of your life. So like if your ideal life involves you moving to another country, you might be looking into the best ways to do that. You might be saving up money. You might be looking at different types of visas. You might be thinking about, okay, should I go over on a work visa and get some experience there? Should I go back to school or transfer to an international school and get my, do my student visa there? What kind of documents do I need to immigrate to that country? Do I have, is my form of employment something that they're looking for that can help me get moved over there much more easily? You might be looking into learning the language. If you're looking into opening a business, you might be researching, like, if your business is something that you already have established, and you've already been interacting with people and clientele, you might be seeing, like, okay, where are my strengths? Like, where are the areas in which people are responding well? Where are my weaknesses? Am I not engaging with customers as often as I should be? Is my marketing uninteresting? Am I utilizing social media to the best of my ability? And if you haven't yet established the business, it could be like, okay, how can, where's the need for this? Like how prevalent is this, service or this product? How can I make it unique? How can I make it stand out? For instance, if you want to open a coffee shop, right? If your dream is to have a nice coffee shop, researching, okay, what areas are there too many coffee shops around? Are there areas around me in my location, in my state, in my country, in my town or city where maybe there's less prevalence of that type of business. If this is like in looking for a partner, it could be, okay, how am I presenting myself physically? Am I elevating my physical attractiveness? How am I looking for a partner? Am I going out and speed dating? Am I talking to people online? Am I going on blind dates? Am I actively participating in the dating scene? And, if I'm not getting a lot of attention or like callbacks, is there a way that I can improve like my communication skills to connect with potential partners even better? So you already, I think, started the very we're talking here about the foundation you've set, but this is like the very root foundation. Oh yeah, we didn't talk about, that reminds me, we were talking about, so the tree agate was buried was used in ancient Greece, buried in fields to promote plentiful harvest. This can be used also to explore your ancestral tree and promote healing and channel wisdom. It is correlated with Earth and Mercury, Taurus, Virgo, and Gemini, and the element of Earth. There's a lot of grounding here, okay? A lot of grounding. And so I think you have started at the very basics of the foundation to build up. and you're looking really at the intricacies, and you're open to learning how to be more efficient, how to be more engaging, approachable, and I think that's amazing. You're clearly somebody who's very insightful, group number 1. I got to give that to you. All right. So the advice that the universe has for you here is going to say, it's card number 27. What do you really want? Okay, so the essential meaning is finding clarity and purpose, uncovering why you do what you do, defining your trajectory, enjoying the journey, feeling your future results today. Oh my God, that's so beautiful. And knowing that they are coming to you. I don't know why this is getting me so emotional. But I'm so happy for you. Being able to discern between what others want for you and what you really want for yourself. So like we talked about expectations. What your soul is asking you to do, tuning into your intuition, guidance from angels, guides, or spirits. And it says, what do you really want? Really, beyond the parameters of what's possible and what's likely, and beyond any constraints of time and money, what do you want? So if you're feeling restricted by external circumstances, the universe is saying, like, don't temper your desires because you think that what you really want isn't possible. Like, get as crazy as you can. I'm sorry, this is like, I'm really emotional right now. Regardless of your current situation and regardless of what you wanted yesterday, what's that big sacred dream that stares back at you when you allow yourself to indulge in magical thinking? If it seems like the dream is too far away to accurately conjure up in your mind's eye, then you've got some work to do. This journey, your spiritual and creative trajectory toward your what, with your why in tow, is your life. It's time to ensure that you are enjoying it and that all your efforts along the way are working together to build the ideal reality that you have chosen. Be mindful that you are not toiling away at a tiny, superficial, or safe version that could never bring your soul the joy it desires. Be mindful of spending energy. Be mindful of spending energy building something that will never be enough. Instead, define what success means to you and know how you'll feel when you've reached your goal. What do you truly desire? Only by clearly defining it can you finally see the path that will take you there. How does the success in your life help others, and what does that look like? What exactly does success look like to you? Abundance, prosperity, joy, and how does it feel? Clearly define your goal as a feeling or an experience, or as an experience will help you to understand what you are working so hard for. Name what you want. Breathe it in. Feel its presence. Write it down. How will you know when you've reached the goal? Okay, I think I might move these over here. Woo! So yeah, so in the process of you learning and sifting through like the intricacies of how you can best achieve what it is that you want, the universe is reminding you, don't settle, don't lessen your dream, and also make sure that you're clearly defining it, So now we're going to see what new actions you can take. So we've got the 7 of Cups in reverse with the Hierophant. Okay. So for those of you where this is like a job or a project, the universe is really guiding you to start it yourself. You don't need to outsource it. And you don't need to start the process with other people. Other people might be able to come with you along the way. Ew, I don't know what that is in my water. Gross. Sorry. But I think the universe is telling you, like, don't wait for other people to show interest. Start the process yourself now. If this is about, like, applying for a college program or moving to a different country, this is the time to start even more in-depth researching it, and it could actually be time to start the paperwork. So, like, right here we talked about, like, if you're thinking of going on a work visa, or if you're thinking of applying for, like, an international, like a student visa, stop thinking about it, do it. Okay? This could also be for some of you, if we're talking about wanting to share our knowledge, write the book. Use the past experiences you've gained and write that book, if that's what you're thinking of doing. The Hierophant is all about institutions, and it's about signing forms, it's about legality, it's about tradition. And so the universe is really encouraging you to start taking official legal measures now. Oh! I'm sorry, that's not how this works. Because this was kind of a general vision, if you're more focused on, like, the feeling that of this future and not so much on the specifics, the universe is telling you, get specific about it. Make a list. Check it twice. This could also be talking about, because the Seven of Cups is about options, right? But in reverse, it can be caught up in delusion, but the way I'm looking at it now, and this is the beautiful thing about tarot, because of the way it's laid out in the spread, I'm looking at minimizing the options. So you could reach out to someone like an immigration lawyer. They might be able to do, like, consultations for free. If you're on, like, a dating app, send the message. Maybe get more detailed about the kind of partner that you're looking for. And if your vibes are off about somebody, definitely listen to that. If this is like a creative or business venture, it might benefit you to take a course as well. Okay, so sometimes there are, like, marketing courses. I really don't know much about that, but you might want to look into, like, courses you can take to strengthen your understanding. If this is about, like, wanting to buy a home, getting in touch with a realtor. So this is all about you connecting to an institution. And it can even be, like, an institution that helps you find what you're looking for. So what advice do we have from the universe regarding this? Okay, cozy up with risk, number 61, but in reverse. So that's the challenging aspect, okay? Or the self-care message, So it means feeling stuck, an inability to move forward, feeling controlled by fear or uncertainty, a time to release negative thought patterns, being realistic about risk tolerance. Fear of risk is paralyzing growth. And there's something I think it was in the Confident card that really talked about that. The potential to be taking too many uncalculated risks to the point of recklessness. So it says, risk is inevitable when you are pursuing your dream. So go on, cozy up, and get to know each other. We're literally talking about dreams here. Risk is a little bit like a campfire. Both need to be watched and tended carefully. Neither should be feared. And respect and responsibility are part of the deal. And just as a campfire can be a magical catalyst for 100 wonderful stories, risk can be the catalyst for 100 realized dreams. Encountering risk means you are aware, pushing boundaries and innovating, and you are bravely trying new things, testing ideas, and living. Trust that your reward will be waiting for you when you take your leap of faith, and that you'll find your soft landing in love, in your investments, or in your creations. This is a catalyst for something better. You are working toward an extraordinary life, and the only way to arrive passes right by the warm, inevitable glow of the unknown. Are you worrying without any real cause? Are you stressed when things go exactly as planned? Are you blowing your risk out of proportion? Are you ruminating over things you cannot change? Are you worrying about something that hasn't happened yet? What area in your life requires a little more trust from you? So if you're afraid of taking risks, understand that it's just part of the process. Sometimes when we talk about like the foundation you've already laid, right? You're studying, you're planning. Oh, shoot, we don't want to start that yet. Sometimes we can get stuck in that phase. Like people who are like professional students, you know, they constantly go to school, but they never really like get into a career. If you're focused too much on planning and learning, now is the time to execute some of the things that you've learned instead of keeping yourself stuck in a very passive process. Also, if you've been just putting your feelers out there too much, like we talk about maybe trying to take on too many different opinions or too many different options, trying to figure out which ones you can cut loose. There is the energy of like being willing to take chances, but also making sure that they're calculated. But letting go of fear, like understanding that yes, you are worth it, that yes, opportunities will come. We just don't always see results in the time frame we would like them, group number 1. So finally, what's going on behind the scenes? And this could be with the universe, this could be people that you know or people that have heard about you, programs that are making things easier. We've got the Chariot in reverse. Oh my God, I actually love that. Oh my God, the Queen of Pentacles here with the Knight of Pentacles. You could be having an offer come in soon, whether it's financial, romantic, platonic. But overall, that to me says that there is going to be comfort that comes into your life. And there is going to be abundance that comes into your life. What's already happening behind the scenes is that what you want isn't changing. You know, like this opportunity is something that is here for you. And there will continue to be opportunities that show up for you. So if you're somebody who's afraid, like, if I don't make a move now, like, it's just going to pass me by. Or if I don't do this, then I've just lost my only chance. And while I would say that's, you know, opportunities being consistently available for most of us, I would say is true. I think on one hand, it may be especially true for you. It could mean that, I guess we'll pick that one. It could mean that if this is like an idea for a business or a creative project that you have, that it's just something that's so strongly embedded within you that it would be very hard for you to not pursue this. So even if you're delayed, even if you kind of push it off, like it's very likely that this is something that you will do eventually. It could mean like if you're looking for a job, or like if there's a job that you're very interested in or a program that you're very interested in, but for whatever reason you've had to kind of put a stop to it or delay it, that whoever else is a part of that program or that company still very much has interest in you. And so they're going to keep their eye on you. Like, I'm always watching you, Wazowski. Always. Like, you're on their radar. If this is about, like, developing a stronger sense of community with, like, friends or a lover, just know that, like, if there's a romantic partner that you're particularly interested in, but for whatever reason there had to be a separation, or maybe, like, your time is being taken up a lot or their time is just kind of minimal, just know that they have a very strong place for you in their heart and that they're willing to wait and they're willing to be patient. Friends as well. I think this is saying that you're going to find that there are friends that you have in your life or you will have in your life who are just going to be very understanding and very easygoing, but also that, like, you're actually the kind of person people do want to get to know. And so there will always be people that you can meet who will accept you for who you are and value you. So then we have card number 31, Stop, Drop, and Ground in reverse. When I do it, the book at the back. So the self-care message: feeling undeserving of joy, learning to accept your past, releasing limiting beliefs, a need to spend time with people you love, taking notice when you are in overdrive, feeling overwhelmed, a need to relax. Absolutely. So just relax. Don't need to stress. I know it's easier said than done, but truly, like, if you might need to start a gratitude journal or give yourself pep talks, listening to sometimes music helps me. If I'm looking for a certain mood, like if I want to calm down, I might listen to like lo-fi beats or ambient sounds. If I want to feel like a badass bitch, like I'm putting badass bitch playlists on my Spotify. But it's, hype yourself up and just work on retraining your brain and your nervous system to accept good things are going to come into your life and that you're worth it, and that it's not going anywhere. So it says, how long has it been since you gave yourself a moment to pause? Just for the joy of it. If you have been caught up in the hustle or feeling anxious or stressed about the future, it's time for a pause. Full stop. It's time to ground yourself with self-love. Drop onto your yoga mat, drop in on movie night with family, or drop into laughter with your besties. Seriously, your soul is asking for this. And while stopping and dropping, you can feel drastic, especially if you've been on the hamster wheel of busy for a while. It's also perfect medicine for resetting and realigning your goals with the path you are on. If you are taking on unnecessary work that feels soul-sucking, you need to stop. If you are repeatedly worrying about metrics, relationships, or money, you need to stop. Ruminate with Rumi instead. Grab a tea and play. You know what? I'm going to take that as a sign. Please hold while I look for my... Where are those cards? Here we go. You were made for giving. I will give my loved ones as much of my undivided time today as they want. Okay, which is interesting because we have the offering here. This is from a deck by Rumi, so if you're wondering... This could be a symbol too, a sign that maybe there's been some negligence on your part because you've been so overcome with worry, stress, putting in work, whatever. Grab a tea and play hooky from your to-do list for a while. Know that you are deserving of this sacred pause. Stop, drop, and ground isn't about sticking your head in the sand and pretending that everything is wonderful when it's not. It's not about chanting positive mantras when you honestly feel like muck inside. It's about finding the real happy wherever you are. It's about actively pursuing grounded presence today while remembering that it doesn't have to be perfect to be perfectly blissful. Also, remember, the person that you see yourself in the future is somebody who is happy and positive and bringing in those things, okay? When was the last time you laughed till you cried? Maybe it's time to schedule a lunch date with a good friend. When you stop, drop, and ground, what do you notice? Have you been so caught up in the details of what you're doing that you've forgotten your joy? All right, and we're going to get just some general guidance from the universe. A little boost. Okay. So what message do you want to deliver? What uplifting message do you want to deliver to group 1? I mean, I think they're all pretty uplifting cards, but just to clarify. 1515, the big break. Innovation, focus, creation, progress, forward movement, skills, and goals. An opportunity, oh my God. Help, extra cash, or other support is coming your way, so keep going and have fun when performing your tasks. The most tremendous success comes from passion. All efforts will be rewarded big time. You guys, you're getting it. You're getting it. We already talked about it, and that's further confirmation. You're getting it. So group number 1, I hope that you enjoyed this reading. If you did, please let me know how it resonated in the comment section down below. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to be a part of our family but haven't done so, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know whenever I upload a new video. And if you would like to be a part of the family but haven't done so yet, you can join by hitting the subscribe button. Wait, didn't I do that? I think I just did that. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Anyway, send me an email if you want a private reading. My email address is in the description box down below. Bye. Hello, group number 2. You chose the citrine and or the wolf. So this will be your reading all about the journey to your dream life. We're going to lay out these cards here, and we will discuss what they mean along with the gemstone about how you imagine your perfect life to be, your fantasy life, your dream life, your ideal life. And then we will get into the tarot to ask direct questions about how you can pursue that life. So we have the wolf with time. We have card number 46 with the womb. We have jealousy and envy. We have card number 8 with come together. And we have this card here, which on the back is 44, the traumatized. And it says, I acknowledge that I have been traumatized, but also that I am healing. So how I did this with group 1 was there are a couple of cards that when I had drawn them, I had been thinking of specific aspects, and we will look into that. And then we'll get into the other 3 cards, which are more general. As for the stone itself, this is citrine, and it corresponds with Aries, Leo, Libra, and Gemini. It is the sources that I found associated with the element of air and the planet Jupiter, and the sacral, solar plexus, and crown chakras. So the gemstone itself inspires abundance and creativity, and it helps to cleanse the chakras. So I think for a lot of you, you've experienced time frames, which I mean, this is a standard human experience, I would say, but you may feel, I just saw 2, 3, 4. you may feel as if it's been more extreme at times for you, but where certain chakras or certain connections to your senses are dysregulated. So, at times you may not feel grounded, you may feel insecure, you may feel disconnected from your intuition, you may feel a lack of creativity. And I think you might be a person who is focused when you're feeling misaligned with one thing to hyper focus on that. And it could have been an issue that's caused you to not embrace the areas where you have had, hey, hush, a stronger connection. But let's get into it. Okay, so it looks like that one of the main focuses here is abundance and creativity. When I pulled for the animal and there's a hair dangling, of course there is. The animal and plant oracle here, I was asking about what the general energy of this ideal life of yours would be. And with this card, it talks specifically about having a connection to spirit, or having a connection to your spirit. The wolf represents guardianship in spirit, and the plant of time represents chivalry and strength. What's interesting was that in the description of the card itself, it talks about allowing ourselves to be cared for, that you have been somebody who has protected others, or prioritized other people's needs above your own. And so this is you entering in this ideal future, entering into this mindset of allowing yourself to be cared for. And it makes sense. I mean, I don't know if all breeds of wolves are, but we tend to look at wolves as pack animals. And while the concept of alpha wolves is highly debatable, I encourage you to do research on that. Because the gentleman who talked about alpha wolves eventually came out and said oh, no. I think I misunderstood what was going on about the population of wolves I was researching, but it's still something that's perpetuated. So I think in this future version of yourself, you might even be shedding this role that you feel has been placed upon you, or that you feel you've had to embrace. Give me just a second, maybe something to drink. And it's interesting to me because when I look at a wolf, I see an animal that's very cunning and that's very alert, and that is ultimately a predator. The energy of this lifetime, to me, when I look at this card, talks a lot about you being somebody who feels, or the energy feeling strong, alert, aware, having a goal in mind and being able to address what needs to be done in order to obtain that goal. If you've been somebody who's struggled with feeling weak, taken advantage of, overlooked, I see this as, in your future, you looking at your life as having an air or an energy of strength, of being protected for the reason of who you are and what your existence and what your accomplishments mean. But at looking at the way that that card was described, your ideal life can also involve having security because of the other people in your life, maybe because of job security. If you are somebody who has been experiencing a lot of struggles in keeping employment or finding employment, you may imagine a life where you feel secure in your work, because either you've made a name for yourself or you've gained a lot of skills that are valuable, and that's made you an asset to the community, or you've made enough money to where you don't have to worry, or even that the type of job that you have is one that offers job security. So for instance, as a CNA, I'll never be out of a job. You know, if I want to leave the position that I'm in right now, I can find all across the world, honestly, employment because of the necessity, like the need for nursing assistants and healthcare workers. Especially when we have cards like the womb, you know, and come together here, I feel like a lot of this deals with romance and family. If that doesn't apply to you, that's okay. I'm sure that we'll be able to come up with ways here that do suit your needs better, that suit your dreams. But you may see yourself as being like the matriarch or patriarch of a family. And I'm just seeing like a wolf that's helping to take care of the pups. And knowing that if you were somebody who struggled in the past, even in the present, because of, you know, and we've got the traumatized card here that we'll talk about in a little bit, but who struggled with weakness or trauma, not knowing how to stand up for yourself, protect yourself, acquire the means necessary to sustain a comfortable and secure lifestyle, you see yourself as being a figure to offer that, not just to yourself, but to a younger generation. Even if you aren't somebody who wants to have children, or you have children and they're all grown, I feel this energy of the feeling of the future of your life is one where you can help make the world a better place. Even for children that aren't your own. If you're a teacher, for example, continuing to work in your profession to provide education to the next generation. If, excuse me, you know, being somebody who advocates for healthcare reform, if there are any issues with education in your community or in your country, advocating for improved conditions for the next generation. Environmentalism, to ensure that this planet lasts longer for the generations to come. Now, when I asked about this card, I was asking, you know, how you envision yourself in the future. And it's really interesting because we have the traumatized with 44. I'll read it again. I acknowledge that I have been traumatized, but also that I am healing. Group 1 was also very similar in that it seemed as if struggles from their past really impacted the kind of future that they envisioned for themselves. So let's take a look at this card and see what the booklet says and how that applies to this future vision of who you are. Now it talks about this person right here being unjustly struck by lightning. So you may have experienced a lot of circumstances in your past that you had no control over. Dysfunctional families, natural disasters, politics that imposed upon your ability to live authentically and happy and safely. I also took from this card, though, when I was just looking at it, like a surge of wisdom. You may be somebody who wants to become like a social worker or some kind of advocate, a counselor, a teacher. Even in the respect of, having your own family, I think you would always be somebody who has the experiences that you went through in the back of your mind, really being the map for how not to do things, I think you would always be somebody who would see how your parents treated you, how your government treated you, your religion, your siblings, your friends, your coworkers, your partner, what have you, and decide, like, I want to do things differently. This is a group where I feel like there are generational curses being broken actively, and that is one of your goals, especially if you want to be a figure in your community or if you want to have a family. I see you as somebody who would take the situations and the pain that you've endured and mold them into something empowering that you can use to better your life and the lives around you. It also talks about how this cloud here brings out rain, and the rain turns the ground to mud, making it harder for this person to get up. But even though there are these challenges, these, we see these weapons and the protective gear off to the side, the book itself describes how basically this person has been worn down and all of their defenses and all of their weapons have been cast aside. But noticing that there's still this smile on the traumatized's face and the cherub's face. The future that you see for yourself, the person that you are, is somebody who feels confident in your own power, knowing that no matter what life throws at you, you can handle it. I feel like this is talking about somebody who can connect with their inner child again, find that sense of innocence that maybe currently you're struggling to rediscover, but also being once again getting back to the narrative of being a beacon of light for younger generations of people, whether they are your own children within your community that you interact with, or children across the world who may never see your face. I'm thinking of there's this TikToker, he goes by the name Uncle Tito, and he's in Gaza. And I mean, he's just a young boy, But he dresses up like a clown, and he and other members of this troupe go around, and their goal is to spread joy to the children within their community who are going through wartime, and the effects of that. And also to use his platform as a way to bring awareness and financial assistance. And really, it's all about healing. And so I think you could see yourself as somebody who heals others or prevents the type of pain and damage that you've gone through. Helping to protect younger generations, because I really do feel there is a focus on children here. But also somebody who has healed their inner child. I feel like this could be you connecting to your inner child as well. Now, in general, we've got the womb here, which is card 46. Group 1 may also be of interest to you. I just see some similarities, but also like the card from the same deck that was theirs was card number 64. And if you're not resonating with this, you might want to go check that out. I've noticed sometimes in my circumstances when when I've chosen a pile I felt really confident about, and it's not matching with how I feel or experiences I've gone through, I can go to another pile where maybe it's like, oh, I felt a nudge, or like the reader themselves would be like, hey, you might want to also check out this pile. And sometimes going to that other pile, it's like, oh, okay, there are similar energies here, which is why there may have been the mix-up. Sometimes I stick through with a pile, even if I'm like, this doesn't sound like me, but something towards the end will hit right, like advice that they give or something. So I think there's always a reason, always a reason. But we have the womb here. Once again, we're talking about creativity. You really want a future where you give life to an actual human being, life to a movement, or even just bringing out more love into the universe. Group number 2. So the womb talks about origin and nest, okay? And the interesting thing about this here too is that this card specifies that to receive the womb is to talk about receiving, not achieving. Because if we're looking at the womb in an anatomical sense, the womb receives the sperm, and that's where the child grows, after we have the egg coming down from the fallopian tube, whatever. The achievement is really within the growth itself. Once again, we have to address the issue of I feel like there's, in this ideal future of yours, where you don't feel the stress to perform. You don't feel like there's a mantle you have to take up to make others happy, or to be useful to society. If you're in a position right now where there are certain requirements that you have to maintain, I feel like this future of yours in your mind is where you are allowed to shed that. It's no longer a responsibility. It's like somebody who has to grind and work throughout, their late teens and early adulthood and 30s, and then finally they get to a point where they've worked so hard and they've put in so much energy and so much effort that they finally get to relax, which, how many of us will ever get to do that? But the point being, it's that energy of where it's like maybe in the beginning they had to make a lot of sacrifices, and because of those sacrifices that they made at this point in their life later on, they're able to relax. They're able to let go and release. They could have lengthened out the process of work, not had to work as hard, but then they also wouldn't have gotten the total relaxation that they therefore achieved by putting in that much effort to that extent, that often. And if this isn't about a child, I feel like this is just either about the feeling of love or about a creative idea that you have. And I think for those of you who want a family, or who want to live in a way that provides more love to others, whether through career or social interaction, advocacy. I think that's what makes you feel fulfilled, because you don't see that as a chore. Like, that's what your heart just craves, because you've seen and you've lived through so much pain and so much trauma and doubt, and you're like, I don't want to contribute any more of that. We've got jealousy and envy here. And I think the opinions of others do matter to you. If you have experienced a lot of people in your life who have spoken negatively to you, we could see this card as you feeling a little motivated to live the life that would make them jealous, that would make them envious, as a way of proving them wrong or making them recognize the worth that you have. But I also think this could just be talking about living a life that you're jealous of, but not in a negative way. I think you're a very observant person, and you kind of silently watch the way other people live their lives, whether they're strangers or people who are loved ones or notable people, and you're just like, that's what I want for myself someday. And there's this sense of pride that comes when I'm imagining what your ideal future looks like. Because I just keep hearing something going like, I'm going to live a life that I would be jealous to have. So when it comes to the jealousy and envy card, I really don't sense any like ill intent or like any ego really attached to it. But it's this feeling of like, maybe when you were younger, you didn't even hope to have dreams like this. And so you know that if you were able to join the two timelines together and have your younger self meet, or even the present day self, meet the future version of yourself, that the past version would just be blown away, would be jealous, would be envious, be like, oh my God, how did we do that? Can I have that? But also understanding that like the way that you're getting there is because you have developed this knowledge, and when you were younger, or even this current version of yourself, you're not at a point, or you weren't at a point where you had the bandwidth or the resources to achieve this. So it's like, there's this one card in this deck that I have that talks about this fox who was too afraid to jump across the river until he gets older, and I think this crow convinces him to, and the fox does it, and the fox realizes like, oh, I had to gain knowledge and experience before I was capable of doing this, because if I would have tried it earlier, it could have been dangerous to me. I could have failed. Otherwise, overall, I would have been unsuccessful. With this come together card, I keep hearing, come together right now over me. Someone might like the Beatles. Number 8 is in contemporary tarot that is representative of Leo. So, kind of coming into your own glam, being your own star. And because I love me my Leos, and Leos, they do tend to love attention, but they also love to give attention. There is sometimes the image of Leos being superficial and selfish, and that can be true. But a lot of Leos just really love to make other people shine as well. They love to make other people feel good about themselves. And when I'm looking at this card itself, just by its depiction, I'm seeing like a lot of like 2 of Cups energy, but also the Lovers. And oh, look at this. It's got a crown. And then we've got this pelican here, which I don't know what the pelican means itself. For some of you, you may have an interest in moving to Africa. Or even, this is another thing that I was thinking of, I forgot to mention. If you're not particularly emotionally drawn to having a family or creating a better world or better experience for the younger generation of humans, you might be drawn to like working with animals, animal sanctuaries, zookeeping, habitat conservation, that sort of thing. But this is, to me, two opposing elements that are coming together to create harmony. So we can look at that as a human working to protect animals, working to protect the environment, or two people coming together to build a life, to build a home, to build a family. The statement that's listed in the booklet that I thought, that's just so beautiful. It says, love needs to be shared. And I think that's really what you want for your future, group number 2, to share your love, to be loved and to share it. Because I think in the past you may have really felt restricted from accessing that kind of energy. Whether you just didn't have it for yourself or you didn't feel like others had it for you. It's kind of like coming out into a lightness, imagining a reality for you that isn't as painful, that isn't as restrictive or blocked, that isn't as lonely. So now we're going to ask 3 questions of the tarot. The first one we're going to ask is, what foundation have you already built towards achieving this future self in life? The second question that we're going to ask is, what new actions can you start to continue working on this journey? And then the final question that we'll ask is, what is happening outside of your control, behind the scenes, that's getting you closer to this life? Okay, so please deliver clear, direct answers. What foundation has group number 2 laid to reach this life, to build this life? What foundation has group number 2 already laid to build this life? The 6 of Swords in reverse. Okay, so we're going to start with that. You may have physically already transitioned somewhere, group number 2. This can indicate moving physically to a different location. So maybe, if you were living at home with your parents, maybe you've moved out into a different location, or if you were living with roommates or friends, whether you're living on your own now, or you may have just migrated to a different group of people. Because I can see that some of you are probably living in households where the goals weren't aligned. Maybe the environment was really obstructing your ability to develop and evolve. There could have been fighting. You may just have not have felt like there was peace. If you're somebody who needs a quieter environment, maybe the people you were living with, whether it was family or roommates, friends, maybe they tended to be more noisy and active. If you're somebody who needs an environment where you are engaging with people more regularly, maybe you were involved with people who did keep more to themselves, or just had schedules that didn't allow for them to spend time with you in the ways that would benefit you. This could talk about moving on to a different job. If you were previously in a position where you didn't feel fulfilled, or there was like a toxic work environment, you may have found something where the work culture is more healthy, maybe the hours are more reasonable, the pay is better, it's more stimulating for you, whether you need more creativity, more structure, or maybe it's even more aligned with if, for instance, you were working kind of a more generalized job in the past and now you're doing something more specialized, something that's getting you closer to having the kind of career goal that you've set for yourself. You may have recently just left a relationship, which I know that can be very difficult. So if you have, just understand that I see your effort and I believe in you. You could have even transitioned to a new town or a new country, a new state. I'm reading that as if it's upright, but it's in reverse, which can talk about staying in situations that are unhealthy. But I'm usually very good about reading for uprights and for reversals. So I want to know more details about this. Okay, we've got the Queen of Cups in reverse. So I think there are, for a lot of you, you may have recognized patterns in the past where you did stay stuck in situations that were unhealthy for you. And so now you have made this recent shift. For others of you, I think this is something that you're likely considering, but if you haven't taken that step yet, you're learning how to not become emotionally, how to become overwhelmed. You know, maybe in the past, circumstances that were difficult, you may have taken on other people's emotions as your own, or you may have felt burdened, overburdened, restricted because life was not providing opportunities for you in the way that you were wanting, or that, you know, if you were trying to take opportunities, like for instance, if you're trying to move out of someplace and you submitted an application for an apartment or something and your application got rejected. I think in the past that's something that would have been very painful for you and something that would have seemed catastrophic, but I think at this point you are now learning to look at the situations more subjectively instead of objectively and understand, like, okay, yes, this is stressful and it's frustrating, but I will just look into different kinds of places. Maybe I need to save up some more money. So I think you're able to kind of emotionally detach instead of drowning in the frustrations, in the doubt, in the insecurities, in whatever negative emotions your situations have previously or, you know, have kind of encouraged. I think you've been able to detach from them more. Which is interesting because there was a card that was wanting to come out and I didn't accept it. I just kind of peeked at it and it was the Chariot in reverse, which can mean something similar, that you're not as moved by negative circumstances. You're able to remain more calm. So if you heard the upright interpretation of the Six of Swords and you were like, girl, I wish this is what I've been trying to, but it hasn't happened for me, then what I want to say is this is the work that you're doing now, your ability to temper your emotions and remain relatively unfazed, or at least less impacted by undesirable circumstances, that's important. You know, I wish things were easier for you, and I will never like praise or romanticize, I guess is a better word. I'll never romanticize like struggle, but this is an opportunity for you to continue to grow in that emotional maturity and in the emotional regulation that if had things just worked out beforehand right away, you wouldn't have had that opportunity. You just, you know, it just would have been there for you. And so I'm choosing to look at my initial interpretation as being confirmation that this is coming for you though. Okay? So, oh my God. Guys, we got card number 60 with Creator Alchemy. This is the advice or the guidance. We're going to look at this, okay? Just literally spoken into existence. A powerful alchemist, your calling, purpose, passion, the ability to manifest your dream into reality, being on the road to success, new creative abilities, activating dormant DNA, and the spark of ideas. You are a powerful alchemist, and you are ready to transform the ingredients of your life and make your gold. You are about to step onto a timeline of great potential where there is a window of opportunity to engage in your own evolution. Use your creator alchemy in your... Use your creator alchemy to refashion offbeat skills or to rethink unusual experiences from your past that will become relevant again. And say, oh my God, that's so beautiful, because that's exactly what we were talking about with the traumatized here. These fleeting moments offer quintessential creators like you the power to activate dormant DNA, change your awareness of self, and experience a profound inner change. Some call it ascension, others call it a frequency shift, and others perceive it as a neurogenesis, epigenetics, or upgrades in consciousness. As you blend past and future, holy shit, guys, we were just talking too about like your future self talking with your past self. Oh my God. Your creator core is ready to level up and draw inspiration from this upgrade. Try to remain on your highest vibe over the next few days so you can take advantage of this potential. Co-create willingly with Source and watch for unusual or eccentric illuminations to seed the way. Changing matter into creator gold will be anything but business as usual. Have you been tracking the ideas and wisdom that you've been downloading from Spirit lately? You are a badass creator. You've been alchemizing your experiences for a while now, so what's holding you back from manifesting this big dream? Do you need more support? Technique, guidance, determination, faith, passion, energy, certainty, knowing, or what ingredient will speed up your transformation? Those are all wonderful things to consider. And just realize too, like the way that you are working on managing your thoughts and your emotions is really going to help you create this future that you're looking to have. So I think that's beautiful. And it just like, it sends shivers. Because I was so frustrated. I was like, why did I get that card wrong? I'm so good about doing like reversals and uprights because I'm a big reversey girl. Like, I am. I know there are creators out there who don't like reversals, and I just, like, even my best friend, like, when we have get-togethers, he'll be like, Amber, do you want to do a reading? And, like, we've done a couple of dual readings for someone, like where we both lay out cards and we kind of interpret them. He does not do reversals. And he's an Aquarius, so he thinks a little bit more abstractly than I do. Where I see reversals as quintessential to my practice and my ability to interpret. So I was really annoyed. I was like, why the hell did I get that wrong? But then we just talked about, you know what, this is going to come into reality for you. I'm speaking it, like I'm declaring this, and then we get creator alchemy. My God, you guys. OMG. All right, back on track. What new action can group 2 take on this journey towards their ideal life? What new action can they take? Please give me a clear, direct answer about what new action group 2 can take towards their ideal life. We've got the 2 of Cups. This is a little bit different of an interpretation that I have, but for some of you, what might be beneficial is if you are writing to someone, okay? I'm going to put this out there. Writing to someone. Especially if this person doesn't actually, like, you don't know them. If you are wanting to have a child, start writing letters to that child. If you are wanting to draw in your romantic partner, start writing love letters to them. If you are wanting to connect to the younger generation across the world, you know, and about your vision and how much, you know, you love them and care for them and want a world that's better for them, write them letters. Even if you want to work on healing your inner child, write letters to your inner child. Write letters to your younger self. You know, I will say this, the brain is a fascinating thing, and honestly, it doesn't always understand the difference between reality and creativity, which we can use to our benefit, right? Because when we're sitting there and we're writing to our future child, our future spouse, to a world of people we've never even met, to the younger version of ourselves who doesn't physically exist, we're still creating this emotional bond, you know? And it's creating this sense of love and harmony that you're looking for. If this is about creating a family and you have a partner, it's time to get a little bit sensual. I would say plan a date. Plan a date. And if this is something where it's been like a frustrating journey for you, taking a step back and trying to treat it as like a fresh experience. If you haven't been tracking your cycle, if you are someone who has a cycle, it's time to start tracking it. For some people, I'm getting like some kind of regression sessions or meditation sessions where you're connecting with someone who's passed. There could also, for some of you who have the possibility of reconnecting with someone from your past, like a romantic flame, or like, you know, a high school sweetheart, a childhood crush, or even just someone that you've had feelings for, it didn't work out, didn't go anywhere. The universe is encouraging you to take the step to like reach out to them. This is all about heart to heart. And for some of you, you're going to want to accept a date. Like if you're getting the ick, obviously don't do it. But there could be somebody coming in who wants to offer you to take you out on a date, go for it. Also, if this is something where it's like activism or whatever, find a group or a company or an organization and do your research, but find one that really connects with you emotionally and start to participate in that. This could also be, if some of you are creatives, getting your creative content out there. Start publishing, start posting. Go to like coffee shops and do the public, like the open mic nights. Okay, what advice do we have from the universe about this? The guidance, the encouragement. Also, one thing, okay, so when I was younger, one of my really good friends, one of my best friends, Christiana, she used to write fan fiction about people's lives. It seems silly, but if you've ever kind of thought to do that, or if hearing that sounds interesting, write a fan fiction of your life. You know, like even if it's just like a page or whatever, just write out scenes of what your life will look like. So what guidance do you have for group number 2 about the step they can take? So we have the Creator card with Earth in reverse. So there's no like actual meaning of that. In the book, there are 4 element cards here, and that's the way that the book talks about it. Is it's kind of like, you know, each element has a purpose. And it can help you focus on, I think it's part of a spread. Where it's like you choose your focus and then you choose the cards to go with it. What I will say is that right now you don't need to focus on foundation. You don't need to worry about being practical. See, feed your artist. I don't think I've gotten this card before. It's 28. So the universe is encouraging you to work more from like your heart and your spirituality. Less worried about your mind and like your grounding. So not needing to be analytical, not needing to focus on practicality. But the essential meanings says passionate maker, creative play, supporting yourself with your passion, time to experiment, ability to be free from rules, nourishing your artistic soul, creating an inspired future, ability to inspire others. You are in flow with the universe. I feel like this card coming out was just, bitch, I said what I said. There's a money myth out there that healers are broke-ass hippies and that creatives are starving artists, and it doesn't have to be this way. It actually isn't this way at all. There are healers, creatives, and artists everywhere who are building abundant, prosperous lives with their craft. You too can use your passions and your creativity to fill the world with joy and abundance. Allow them to support and guide you on your journey and diligently feed your inner artist, trusting that it is a productive pursuit. Your art may be a shot of daily yoga with a side of delightful conversation, or maybe it's expressive dance that clears your stress. Whatever it is, allow playful art to seep into your life. The real, unpolished, uncontrived play that floats your soul. Do more of that. Indulge your inner creator by diving into something you've been inspired to try with no judgment, with no expectation, except the expectation to experiment. Your self-expression will nourish the miraculous light you've got inside, and incredibly serendipitous opportunities will surface when you are out in the world enjoying your life as art. How often do you schedule in time for creative play? And how spontaneous are you about diving into something that looks like it will be fun? Are you leaving time for experimentation? How harshly do you judge your initial attempts? What type of artist are you? What is your life as art? You know, it seems like with the foundation you've already laid, group 2, you've already worked so much on doing what's practical and getting grounded, and the universe is saying like, okay, you don't have to focus on that as much. Allow yourself to be creative. Allow yourself to experiment, to explore. You know, if you're feeling like you won't be supported, that fear is not rooted in truth. It might be rooted in past experiences. But give yourself and your life an opportunity to show you that it can be different. All right, and so now what is going on behind the scenes? What is out of your control that's happening to move you closer to this ideal future? The 10 of Wands in reverse. I love it. So things that are like stressors in your life, I think, are naturally falling away, which in part is likely due to the work you've done to become more emotionally regulated. You've got the Tower with Temperance and the King of Pentacles in reverse. Absolutely. Because in reality, like you could choose to hold on to fear, resentment, obsession, but because of the work that you've done, things that would stress you out in the past they're not as stressful to you anymore. And it's also very likely that the universe is kind of pulling things away from you that would be that would be not unsettling, but destabilizing, I suppose. So if there are, because we've talked about like situations that may not have worked out in the past, if there are situations that haven't worked out, it's because the universe was allowing them to fall away. Even if, for instance, let's say this is with a partner, okay? Because sometimes I hear this and I'm like, oh my God, but like, does that mean that I'm not supposed to be with my partner? Because like we've been having a lot of, interferences. And it just occurred to me that's not necessarily what it means. Like, if you're asking about a specific situation where things don't, or if this involves a specific situation where things don't work out, it's not necessarily that it's not meant for you. It could simply be that the circumstances that you were pursuing at that time would not have led you to this prosperity. So for instance, to bring my situation into the limelight here, my boyfriend is an H-2A worker, and he was in South Dakota in a location that I had lived in for several years, and I had some good history there, but it was also like I have an ex who lives there. I was not looking forward to moving back there, and he was working a lot. He was really stressed. He didn't feel like he fit in with the other workers there. So then he moved to Illinois. He got a job in Illinois on another farm. And, he's now he's in a situation where he's more comfortable with the people that he's around. It's a smaller group. So he's happier. And then I would be a lot happier moving to Illinois because I don't have to deal with someone from my past that I wouldn't have to deal with that burden. I was willing to do it to be with my boyfriend, but I'm so glad we're not going to be in that environment now. So things that, it's I can still have a future with my significant other. It's not that the universe is trying to tell me like, no, Amber, you can't be with him. It was just like, this environment is not the right environment for that to happen. So if there are jobs that aren't calling you back, right? Or apartment applications that are not being accepted. If you have just been finding a lot of disruptions occurring in your life, it's highly possible that the universe is allowing this to happen just because there's different environments, atmospheres, or circumstances that would be more beneficial for you. So we're going to get some guidance with that one. I love this card. Rise. It's card 57. Being ready to rise, rebirth, second chances, redos, new opportunities, stepping up to your potential, and announcements. That's awesome, considering we're talking about the universe taking away elements of stress for you. You are ready, you feel it in your soul, and you hear it in your heart. You are ready to step up, unveil your brilliance, and run across the fields, shouting your dream to the world. Reach out and reveal a piece of your plan and share a part of your magic. Think bigger this time. You are going to rise higher than you ever have before, so you're going to need a grander entrance. Give yourself permission to openly pursue the giant, badass goal that you've got. As you let it loose and try it on for size, you'll untether your potential beyond anything that you can fathom. Start to ask, why not me? And realize that it's your turn to rise. If something is coming to a halt, or if you have recently suffered an unpleasant blow to your momentum, this card illuminates a time for second chances. You are being gifted a redo with all of the rebirth energy of the Phoenix. And this time, you get to decide just how far you fly. Take a moment to regroup and implement any changes that are needed. And then open your wings and rise. How hard are you on yourself? How are you keeping yourself down? Are you motivating yourself as much as you would others? Are you rising up like a warrior and upping your inner dialogue and your self-love right along with your skills, your promotional materials, and your to-do list? Does your outer success match your inner glow? Also, I was just getting something about that one. If this is like a health-related issue, there is going to be something coming through medically where they'll be able to have a clearer understanding of what's going on and how to handle it. If you've been waiting for applications or job opportunities, the universe is saying that the delay is coming to an end. You'll see a breakthrough in that. Wow. And when we've got these delays, these obstructions, stressors, it's important not to let yourself get down from that. But also, like, when you see the breakthrough, don't second guess it, group number 2, because I have a feeling you might question that. Don't second guess it. Accept the blessing for what it is, okay, and rise to it. So now we're going to get our final message using these, like, angel oracle cards. What other uplifting message do you have for group number 2? 1001, spiritual awakening. New beginnings, personal development, prioritizing creativity, and heading in the right direction. A new phase in a religious or spiritual quest. You're going through a spiritual awakening, which can feel like the dark night of the soul. And that could very well be what this is talking about right here, breaking through that awakening process. You're on the path to enlightenment, and this too shall pass. So I would say whatever it is that, is going to be kind of the momentum for your future, it is something very spiritually related, or very creatively and psychologically related. And it's something that deeply connects with like your heart center and is going to help be the driving force to attaining this ideal future. So group number 2, I hope that this reading resonated with you. If it did, let me know how in the comment section down below. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to be a part of the family but haven't done so yet, just hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know whenever I upload a new video. And if you would like a reading with yours truly, you can find my contact information in the description box down below. Bye. Hello to my beautiful pile 3s. If you chose the ruby and fuchsite or the snail card, this is going to be a reading all about your ideal life and the journey towards it. So we are going to lay out these oracle cards, and this is going to be the energy of what that ideal life looks like in your mind. And we're going to incorporate this crystal into it. So first, again, we've got the snail, and it's also got green poppy along with it. We've got golden palace. We've got awakening self-realization. Card number 29 with the self. In this card, which is called card number 8, the judge, affirmation, I am relentless in my pursuit of honesty and justice. So we'll start with the crystal here. Ruby and fuchsite pertains to the element of water. So it can deal a lot with like emotions and intuition, and creativity. It is connected to the root and heart chakras. It's associated with the planet Mercury, so we're looking at a lot of communication. And the sign Aquarius. Now, one thing I love about Aquarians, from my perspective, is they're very outside of the box thinkers. They are individuals who know how to look beyond the realm of what is immediately possible, and they can find alternatives. They also, I feel like, are really good at playing the game in their favor. They can find loopholes through anything. Now, when I drew these cards, for most of these cards, I was just asking in general for information about what your ideal future looks like. But there are a couple of cards where I asked something more specific. So first, we'll start with the snail and poppy. When I pulled that card, I was asking about the overall energy of the future of your life. And this is an interesting card to get. Just for like, when I read the book, because I always try to incorporate what the intention of the authors of like oracle cards meant, were. And the snail and poppy card represents laziness, sloth, and punishment, and peace and death. And the green poppy specifically talks about remembrance. And I feel when I intuitively drew it and I was thinking of the snail, I was thinking of an element of a life taken more slowly. You may have felt over the course of your lifetime up until this point that you were hustling and bustling, overburdened, stressed. And the energy of the future that you imagine is one where I feel like you're able to take life at a more leisurely pace. possibly where there's less stimulation coming in from the outside, so that you may have more time to observe and collect and experience. I'm also thinking of when a snail moves, it leaves behind a trail. So it leaves its mark and its path. And I feel, especially as we look at the totality of these cards with Golden Palace, Awakening, Self-Realization, the Self, the Judge, I feel like for you there is a very strong desire to leave your mark on the world. You see a future where you matter, where something that you have done is important. I feel like the energy of your future self is one where you end up in textbooks. You end up in speeches. People do research papers on you, or school reports on you. There could be statues in your honor, people naming their children after you. There's this feeling of needing to make your mark and for your existence to matter even after your passing. When I'm looking at the concept of punishment, I don't feel it's a punishment against you. If there is somebody in particular who has wronged you deeply, or multiple people, I feel the energy of the future of your life, the ideal future, is where you receive retribution for that, where you receive justice. Excuse me. You currently or in the past may not have been able to try to hold others accountable, or if you did, the consequences may not have occurred in the way that you'd hoped, or at all. I feel like maybe in your life up until this point, there have been a lot of people who could have taken advantage of you or hurt you, who were left unscathed. They were able to continue their lives with clear consciences. Maybe people didn't believe you. And in the future that you idealize, you see that changing. When I drew this card, this is an archetype card. I was asking about how you imagine the ideal version of yourself in the future. And we got 8, the Judge. I am relentless in my pursuit of honesty and justice. It's worth noting that in contemporary tarot, the major arcana number 8 is represented by strength, but in traditional tarot, it's actually represented by justice. And so once again, we are addressing the theme of getting what's owed, rights being wronged. But I think you could also see yourself as somebody in the future who takes on the position of judge. You may literally want to be a judge, maybe like a reporter, a journalist who is seeking out the truth. An activist. Maybe somebody, especially if you're not somebody who is past the cutoff date for when your country allows you to, maybe somebody in the military, somebody who is like an attorney. Let's see what the book says. So the book specifically talks about the judge being all observing, like the god Pluto, Pluto being the lord of the underworld. And that's very deep, transformative energy. So even though we've got here the vision of living a life where it might be easier for you, less fast pace, doesn't mean there's any less quality or depth to your life and to who you are. This is a version of yourself where you are more experienced, you're more fine-tuned, you're able to see things more clearly. You might feel that in the past you've been naive, been misled, maybe not as observant, missing what you perceive as clues and cues as to things shifting in your life. And so you see yourself as somebody who is able to take and observe, even quietly, like all of these independent parts and see how they connect. It also talks really about being able to maintain essentially like a poker face. Now it's interesting here, we have a stone that talks about water energy and about emotional strength. Oh, I don't know if I talked about that part. But this crystal here talks about the awareness of self, emotional strength, motivation, and rejuvenation. So if you're somebody who tends to be very emotional, or you just struggle at being able to hide what you're thinking, what you're feeling, you see yourself as somebody who is able to be more discreet about those qualities. And having a power in words. This card specifically talks about being somebody who is so wise and so captivating that others are essentially like hypnotized by you. There's a desire here to have a lot of influence, to have a lot of impact, and for others to take you seriously, to hold value in your word. This card talks about being somebody who imparts wisdom unto others, and how if that wisdom is heeded, if it's respected and followed, how that can lead to more prosperity. But if it's ignored, if it's misused, then it comes kind of at the detriment to the other person. And this card also talks about being somebody who is very discerning. Maybe with the energy of the future where we're talking about things happening more slowly, you may have experienced a life where external circumstances were so fast-paced that you weren't able to identify people in your life who were problematic, or identify the correct steps to achieve certain goals. Maybe you weren't able to identify what your strengths and weaknesses were, or the possibilities that laid before you, the circumstances that were holding you back. And this is really talking about you becoming a person who isn't blinded or caught off guard by external realities, external experiences, people outside of yourself. You become somebody who is very perceptive, very wise, very transformative, and very respected. And there's a confidence in yourself that you have about your knowledge. You're somebody who is no longer second guessing your ability to assess situations correctly. You're somebody who isn't second guessing your own intelligence, your own worth, your own skills. And you are able to discern what it is that you want, what it is that you need, and how to get there. And you're able to use that discernment as well in whatever pursuit you have, especially if it involves other people. You could also be somebody who's interested in like philosophy, psychology, and you really want to leave your mark on the world in that respect. Publishing books, getting your PhD and becoming well respected in your field, being published in peer-reviewed articles, that sort of thing. Now with the Golden Palace here, this once again gives a sense of importance, of almost like royalty. There's this goal for you to become the top of your field, or to be like, I'm just seeing like your picture hanged with the greats. The card description in the book says there is always enough, and it talks about fulfilled ambitions, wealth, prosperity, and emotional fulfillment. The card does encourage us to remember that material possessions are not guaranteed to stay, and I think you understand that. And I don't think you're necessarily somebody who is concerned about material possessions. You might want things like a nice house, or the ability to take vacations. But ultimately, this dream future of yours comes in the way of feeling emotional fulfillment, feeling respected, feeling like a leader, not only in your life, but in society in one way or another. You could be interested in becoming like a government official of some sort. We have the Awakening Self-Realization card. And I'm called to look at this as almost like a memorial. And once again, we're getting into the future that you are idealizing, that you are imagining as being one where like your picture is there to be studied. Your history is there to be studied. Where memorials may be placed in your honor. There's a holiday named after you. You create an inspiration in your community, in your field, even your world. You know, there's this feeling of currently having untapped potential. And you imagine this future where the potential is at its peak, where it's constantly like flowing and reaching new heights, and there's no more challenges, no more obstacles, no more stunts, like stunted growth or anything. I do feel called to mention that sometimes, you know, throughout our lifetime, we're not always going to have constant momentum or inspiration. There will be times when you are struggling to reignite that drive, or, you know, there may be a challenge that you are uncertain of facing. And just to accept that part of being human. But ultimately, I mean, we've got a stone here of motivation, right? And so you see yourself leaving behind this life where it's really been preventing you from reaching new heights. And I'm thinking of the song No Handlebars too, which pay very close attention to the whole song about no handlebars, because it seems like this cute little song. Look at me, just called to say that it's good to be alive. I'm all curled up, you know, I can ride my bike with no handlebars, no handlebars, no handlebars. But it's all about the dangers of like becoming overconsumed by our own ambitions. Then when we finally look at the self, I noticed here that in the middle of the shadow is like a pearl, right? And a pearl is created within an oyster because there's been an irritant and the oyster wraps silk around it to create a sense of comfort. It's like a diamond, you know, where pressure has been used to create something beautiful. And you yourself, group number 3, are your outer shell, your outer reality. Sometimes even your mind can be the oyster itself. And your soul, your goals, your passions, your ideas can be seen as the pearl. Things of value, things that were created because of times of stress. And you're really ready to expose that pearl to the world in this future reality. It's interesting when I read the book, the self is also labeled as the witness, the watcher, and the soul. So we have the judge here and we have the witness. So to me, this talks about being able to take your past experiences, whether it's in a particular circumstance where maybe a job wrongfully terminated you, maybe, Lord, hope this didn't happen, but maybe somebody physically attacked you. Maybe there was an inheritance that was not honored that should have partially been distributed to you. These are just all examples. But even if it has nothing to do with the relation to you, the way that you've seen the world, if you're somebody who's very interested in getting into government agencies, being a philosopher, being a judge, an attorney, this is all about taking what you've observed and the things that you've learned both informally and formally and being able to present that. And it also, there was a quote in here that I thought was very interesting, is that the soul doesn't judge its own parts. So it's this feeling of leaving behind self-judgment, self-deprecation, being self-critical, and instead taking that sense of judgment outside of yourself and into the external world. Okay, so if that sounds like a version of your ideal future, then we're going to start looking into 3 questions through tarot. The first question that we will ask is, what foundation have you currently laid that is assisting you in moving into this path, like taking on this journey, achieving this goal? Then we're going to be looking at what new direction, what new action can you take that will assist you in reaching this ideal future. And then we'll be looking at things that are outside of your control or things that are occurring behind the scene that are leading you to this reality, this future. And with each question, we're going to be using, we're going to be getting guidance using the Sacred Creators Oracle. And at the very end, we'll get a message, a supportive message in general, using the Angel Numbers Oracle. Okay. So we're asking for clear, direct answers. Universe, what foundation has group 3 already laid toward achieving success, like to achieving this ideal future? Okay, this is several more than in the past. Piles. So we've got the 10 of Cups in reverse, the Devil card upright, and then the 3 of Swords in reverse. So I feel for a lot of you that you may have left environments that were not supportive of you. This could indicate like family relationships. I just saw 2333. This could, for some of you, I feel like there's a divorce that just recently happened or happened within the past few years. Let's talk about leaving behind friend groups. In general, this can also just talk about leaving behind environments or pursuits that were not emotionally fulfilling. With the Devil here, a lot of times that can seem like a scary card, but there are moments where I can see it as a positive, because the Devil is all about prioritizing ourselves. And I think in this instance, what we're seeing here is that you have really prioritized your needs, your wants. You've made this commitment to yourself where you are no longer entertaining situations or people who aren't fulfilling to you, who don't hype you up, who are overly critical, who hold you back from the kind of life that you want and the kind of person that you want to be. And you're very committed to healing from this heartbreak. You know, if there were circumstances or people who made you feel, is denigrated the right word? Or less than, even though the Devil can be a card of attachment, it's not we're not getting attached to heartbreak here, to the pain of the past. What we're dedicating ourselves to is healing and prioritizing our needs and our wants. And I think it's beautiful. You know, there's this seems to me an energy of really working on healing your emotions. You may have started the process or at some point gone into therapy. You may have used the assistance of like medication. So like if you needed SSRIs or mood stabilizers. There's just this feeling of like, okay, enough is enough. I'm no longer sacrificing myself. And I'm not going to let the pain of the past or rejection hold me back. To me, this seems like, you know, even if you weren't married, it feels like there were people in your life you kind of felt like you had to please, or, you know, you had this vision of like, we're going to have these strong bonds, or this negative cycle with my family is going to heal. And you just realized at some point you weren't seeing results. And so you decided, okay, enough is enough, self. Like, we're going to move away from this situation because they're not willing to change themselves. They're not willing to change how they treat me or see me or talk to me. And I'm proud of you for that, because that's not always something easy to do. We place a lot of times so much importance on keeping harmony and being like respectful, and especially in situations with family, a lot of cultures really prioritize appealing to the family as opposed to like respecting yourself. And I will always advocate for cutting ties or for defying the expectations of family who are not being respectful towards you or showing you value, or whose presence in your life is actively harmful. All right, what guidance from the universe do we have about this foundation that you've built? Oh, air, creator. I'm going to pull another card because this is just kind of a... Sometimes I pull these cards out from the deck when I'm using this one, but this doesn't have a meaning. It's really, it's a way to lay out a spread. But the universe is saying it's important to continue utilizing your air energy, which we can look at as like critical thinking skills, imagination, communication, self-talk might be really important. Contracts could be very important for someone. You may need to, if someone's trying to bring a contract to you, make sure that you read it fully. I'll tell you what, oh my God, you guys. So I'm going to try to make this story short. I'm not very good at that. Sorry. But here's the thing. So I have land in my name. And there's a contract with an oil, like a mineral rights company. I inherited it. Like, I think it came from my father passing or something. I don't quite recall. But I used to receive money because they would drill on it. And there got to be a point when I was in my 20s where I was like, I don't want to accept this anymore. It was a very moral thing for me where I was just frustrated because I didn't want to support the oil industry. And I considered maybe just donating that money that I received to companies that researched renewable energy resources or something of the sort, but I never got around to that. Several years ago, which by this point I had already stopped receiving checks for it because it had been so long since I filed any taxes or even claimed the checks. I was just kind of letting it rot. My uncle, who is a retired lawyer on my mom's side, reached out to my mom, who reached out to me asking if I would give him my oil mineral rights. And at this point, I was like, sure, whatever. Wasn't even asking for any payment. He sent me a packet. And I was going through a very depressive episode, so I didn't even open that packet for 6 months. But my mom kept commenting, hey, I'm sorry to bother you, honey, but your uncle's really wondering if you've had a chance to look over that paperwork. And I was like, fine, okay, whatever. So I opened it up. Tell me why this man sent me a durable power of attorney, okay, that he wanted me to sign, which if you're not familiar with that, means that I would sign over all of my rights. Like, he would have control over all of my assets, all of my ability to make decisions. And this would happen if I even became incapacitated, right? He'd have control over all of that. And this is something that could later be rescinded, but we would have to go to court for it. Now, I've never had a problem with my uncle. He's someone who, he can be a little judgy, but you know that when he compliments you, he really means it. He's kind of one of those cookies, one of those tough cookies. But I love my uncle. I haven't had a lot of contact with him even before then, but I love him. I've never felt disrespected by him. I was so mad. So I told my mom, I don't really feel comfortable signing this. Just let him know that I'm not going to, and so she sends me the message and says, he says, just sign it and send it back to him and he'll cross off everything that doesn't apply. Now, mind you, this is something that has to be notarized. I have to go and get it stamped by a government official to make this official. No notary, if I were to have things crossed out, is going to sign this, like stamp it with all of these, like, things that are amended, things that are crossed out. And I'm sure as hell not going to go get it notarized in the state that it is. So I was like, I'll just message him, because realistically, we should have been doing this from the start. We should have been having this conversation together. Like, I should have known better, but my uncle really should have known better as an attorney. So I message him and I say, hey, I just want you to know I don't have that document anymore. I destroyed it. And so when you send the revised copy, that's what I'll sign. And I was pretty pleasant about it. This man went off the handle. How dare I? He put so much effort into that. He worked so hard. And the money from that contract could have gone towards, like, St. Jude's or helping animals who are homeless, and at the Humane Society. But now it's going to be used for liberal things like increased workers' wages, which, why is that a bad thing? I don't know. And I didn't have his permission to destroy the document. Like, this is shady as fuck, okay? So at the end of the day, I broke off my relationship with him. I don't know why he needed access to everything of mine. I don't know why he went off the handle like that, because guarantee you, first of all, I didn't even ask him to do the work. He did that himself, if it was such hard work. Secondly, I doubt it was hard work because he probably had a copy of it on his computer already. You know, it was just a generic a generic form. He could have gone online and gotten, and then just edited to include my name. But that's where I was like, okay, make sure if there are any contracts coming towards you, you read them. It is so important. You may need to draw up contracts, but this is also just talking about continuing to hone your observation skills, really taking note of the foundation you've built for yourself and the trajectory that it's placed you on, how effective it is. Continue to observe, like, the areas of your life that are cooperating into leading you towards this future, and what areas may need to be refined, and getting specific about your goals. So 39 in reverse with Bravely Market Your Magic. We're just using this as like a companion to this message, since this technically isn't really like a message card. What did I do? WTF, where is... Oh, I know it's here. Sorry, folks. I somehow misplaced the booklet. Oh, it's right here. All right, so we've got the self-care message: hiding who you really are, copying someone else instead of sharing your own essence, fear of failure, and imposter syndrome. So these are maybe things that you're struggling with. We know that you do see yourself in the future as somebody who is able to be more subtle, and like your motives and your intentions and your feelings less noticeable to others unless you choose to express them. But especially if you're in this area of life where you're fearing failure or you're experiencing imposter syndrome. What biz or life project are you working on that you feel compelled to courageously cast out into the world? Spiritual misfits, philosopher poets, soulpreneurs, and creative catalysts, bravely market your magic. It is your gold, and as gold, it is fascinating and compelling, and people can't stop looking at it when it is shining from the heart. When you draw back the curtains and expose the true colors of your soul, it is blindingly brilliant and beautiful. And it's so funny because we've got this self card here, which is also called like the soul, and it's got these colors radiating. When you draw back the curtains and expose the true colors of your soul, it is blindingly brilliant and beautiful. Make no mistake, someone out there is looking for what you are offering, and they will be thrilled to find you when you are honestly sharing your unique magic. Unveil your weird, your wonderful, and your quirky. It's normal for it to take a few years to find your way and to build your dreams, so don't be hard on yourself if normal happens. Have patience and faith. Even when it feels vulnerable, share of yourself honestly and always put your soul into your message. Not sure how to share your magic, your unique essence and humanness is the right place to start. So many creators start their journey from a place of total passion and authenticity and then slowly move their brand or their vision of what's possible towards something they believe to be more of a sure shot. Are you playing it too safe when you put yourself out there? What is your magic? What have you been hiding? What is missing in the way you express yourself online or in person? So if you struggle with feeling as if you're an imposter, as you're continuing to move towards this ideal future of yours, especially if you're coming from environments that were unsupportive, toxic, demeaning, just remind yourself the value of your uniqueness. This can also be encouraging you to, as you move into trying to pursue this level of success, whether it's through government positions, military positions, being an author, being a philosopher, psychologist, judge, whatnot. Don't try to fit into a mold. Don't think you have to follow the same patterns that everybody else does. Especially now in our society, the willingness to step outside of the boundaries previous generations have placed really has shown to be beneficial. I mean, just look at some of the ways in which we've got politicians. Like, okay, think of like Princess Diana, you know, how it was looked down on her to really interact with like the public in the way that she did. I'm not going to take it, but we got strength in reverse. So kind of letting go of control a little bit. Or even like when she went to, what's that image? Was it with Prince William, where she went to like the little fair at his school, and she participated in like the three leg race, or like the three leg race. And she did a lot of things, or the way she handled patients who had like HIV and AIDS. The way that she handled herself was against what the royal customs were. But oh my God, it made such an impression on people. They absolutely loved her, you know, and it built a stronger relationship with her kids for the little time that she had. Okay, and then we got the Chariot, but I'm going to focus now on the question at hand. So what direct action, what new action can you take towards achieving this goal? We've got the High Priestess with the Page in reverse. Focus on your blockages. Okay? This is a time, this is a card where we're talking about our higher selves, our intuition, and our connection to that. The Page of Swords in reverse, it's an air card. It corresponds to air energy, which can be about things like like communication, intuition, thoughts, knowledge, strategy. So the universe is saying this isn't a time to take action quite yet. There's more studying that needs to be done, and there's very specific areas that you need to study. So once again, look at the areas where maybe your knowledge is not as strong. If you're in a situation where you want to pursue being like a legal advocate or a government official, or you know, a philosopher or whatever, writing a book, it seems like there is a lot of knowledge and experience that you have. The universe is asking that before you take that leap into that path, that you do more research. Because there's an incomplete picture here. There may be more information that if you learn of it, it will make your role in whatever journey you're experiencing much more significant, and much more stand out. This could be for some of you, do some meditations. There may be some blockages that you're experiencing, whether you are aware of it or not, where I can see this energy could potentially become very restricting and very closed off, which can cause a lot of limitations in your ability to grow, to reach a broader audience, and to connect with others. So the universe, I think, is encouraging you as well to take time to meditate so you find a certain balance. And if you find any emotional blockages, or any spiritual blockages, this could also be for those of you who are a little witchy, or I don't even want to say superstitious, but like taking measures to protect yourself like spiritually and mentally. So this could even involve research in things like debate, different debate techniques, so that you can communicate more effectively and you can pinpoint more objectively, like when there are flaws in someone's debate or claims. And this can talk about just taking the time to do, the rituals or connecting to like stones or herbs or meditation practices or whatever that help you to protect your energy against people who would like wish you harm, or who would be like energetically draining, or even just building up your psychological defenses. Because I think you've taken action here. You really have. And so the universe is asking you to take more mental action. I mean, I do see a lot of emotional action here is what I should say. This has been like emotional action. The universe is encouraging you to work on the mental action now. What guidance does the universe have for you regarding the new step that you can take? This is interesting. This came out for pile 1 as well. Cozy up with risk, number 61 in reverse. So the self-care message is feeling stuck and inability to move forward, feeling controlled by fear or uncertainty, a time to release negative thought patterns, being realistic about risk tolerance. Fear of risk is paralyzing growth, the potential to be taking too many uncalculated risks to the point of recklessness. Risk is inevitable when you are pursuing your dream, so go on, cozy up, and get to know each other. Risk is a little bit like a campfire. Both need to be watched and tended carefully. Neither should be feared, and respect and responsibility are part of the deal. And just as a campfire can be a magical catalyst for 100 wonderful stories, risk can be the catalyst for 100 realized dreams. Encountering risk means you are aware, pushing boundaries, and innovating, and you are bravely trying new things, testing ideas, and living. Trust that your reward will be waiting for you when you take your leap of faith, and that you'll find your soft landing in love, in your investments, or in your creations. This is a catalyst for something better. You are working toward an extraordinary life, and the only way to arrive passes right by the warm, inevitable glow of the unknown. Are you worrying without any real cause? Are you stressed when things go exactly as planned? Are you blowing your risk out of proportion? Are you ruminating over things you cannot change? Are you worrying about something that hasn't happened yet? What area in your life requires a little more trust from you? It may be that you need to just kind of reflect and figure out what's causing you to feel stuck. If you are feeling stuck, because even though you're working on these emotions, you may not have a clear sense of how to move forward towards this dream life of yours. And this is the time for you to really sit still. And it can be involved in doing research. It can also just be involved in like doing, like getting to know yourself on a deeper level without distractions. And then finally, we're going to see what is occurring behind the scenes outside of your control that is assisting in creating this dream life of yours. Okay, what's going on behind the scenes to help? Ooh. The 7 of Swords. Okay. First of all, I'm going to get another card for this, but false people are being exposed in your life. I think there are also people out there who recognize you and your value and spreading the word. So a lot of life's successes happen because of like who we know. And, you know, people can have better opportunities at getting into programs or getting into jobs, or getting commissions, if they have connections. Okay, we've got the Six of Cups in reverse. There could even be somebody in your life. Oh, let's pick up the World and the Chariot. Yeah, you're going to be... I really think this reality that you have for yourself, you know that you're meant to do something big, right? You know it, and it's going to happen. But there's something, I think there's either someone who wants to assist you in getting away from this old life of yours or this negative environment. So there could be somebody who is going to reach out to let you know, like, hey, like if you need a place to stay, you can come live with me. Or I just saw an opening for this job at this location. Here's the contact information. If you are like a content creator, I think people will be sharing your content, whether it's just like sharing it on social media or whether it's like showing people in their lives like, hey, this is like a really cool content creator that I've been enjoying lately. This to me is a movement of moving away from the past. And so whether there are people who are actively trying to support you and who are going to come forward and share your content, share your ideas, even if this is like you have a conversation with somebody like online, or maybe you go to a bar and you're just having like a philosophical conversation, or you're explaining to someone what your dreams are. There could be somebody important who like asks for your contact information or reaches back out to you later because they feel that they have a way to assist you in this. It could also just be that there are going to be opportunities that open up that take you away from, I don't want to do this because this is the life you want, from like this life right here. It is really just this energy of people or circumstances working to move you away from the past. If you're in the military, it could talk about deployment, but I wouldn't say like a scary deployment. A deployment that would just kind of take you away from the monotony of where you're currently stationed into a new environment that allows you new experiences and growth. Okay, so what guidance do we have from the universe about what's going on behind the scenes? It's interesting that all of these cards are in reverse. This is all about the self-care message. Feed your artist in reverse, 28. We got this card for the last pile as well, but it was upright. So, self-judgment, which is so interesting because this card talks about not judging. Well, no, it was the self right here, not judging the self. Harsh expectations, overscheduling tasks, not valuing your talent and craft, a need for downtime, a hunger for soul food, a need to reconnect to your creative joy. So this opportunity, whatever it is, could initially start off not appearing as something that will lead you towards this ideal future. It could be somebody inviting you out for drinks. It could be just a conversation that you have with someone online and you don't think like anything of it. It could even be taking a step back from whatever it is that you're pursuing to give yourself time to relax and allow the universe to bring in the resources and tools for you. But it says there's a money myth out there that healers are broke-ass hippies and that creatives are starving artists. And it doesn't have to be this way. It actually isn't this way at all. There are healers, creatives, and artists everywhere who are building abundant, prosperous lives with their craft. You too can use your passions and your creativity to fill your world with joy and abundance. Allow them to support and guide you on your journey and diligently feed your inner artist, trusting that it is a productive pursuit. Your art may be a shot of daily yoga with a side of delightful conversation, or maybe it's expressive dance that clears your stress. Whatever it is, allow playful art to seep into your life. The real, unpolished, uncontrived play that floats your soul, do more of that. So absolutely, like, this is going on behind the scenes. And it's going to come towards you and present as a non-significant situation. Or it'll come at a time when you are allowing yourself to relax and be more playful, not be so focused on your insecurities or, you know, how to reach this life. Indulge your inner creator by diving into something you've been inspired to try with no judgment and with no expectation except the expectation to experiment. Your self-expression will nourish the miraculous light you've got inside. And see, we got the pearl here. That's kind of like emanating light. And incredibly serendipitous opportunities will surface when you are out in the world enjoying your life as art. How often do you schedule in time for creative play, and how spontaneous are you about diving into something that looks like it will be fun? Are you leaving time for experimentation? How harshly do you judge your initial attempts? And what type of artist are you? What is your life as art? So there is an aspect here of like, yes, you want to do the work. You want to focus your attention, but it's also important to understand, like, enjoy your life. And keep yourself open to experiences, because the world is trying to bring something in that may not fit your expectations, and it's going to benefit you to embrace that. I'm thinking of like the chaos theory, which is, yes, it's important to have a plan, but don't be so rigid in the structure of that plan that anything that doesn't go your way destabilizes you, and make sure that you are not rejecting or ignoring other offerings and possibilities that could lead you in a path that's fulfilling in ways that either you hadn't expected could get you there, or in ways that you didn't realize would be fulfilling. Life is full of opportunities, and if we're too strict on the ways that we expect to achieve success in those opportunities, we can really, really miss out on some valuable experiences and connections. So what's some overall positive advice? Oh, you got two. So we've got 0. Oh, and look at that. They're both like halves. Okay. The gut feeling, 0440. Intuition, betrayal, pessimism, relating value, insight, increased perception, love, and monogamy. Follow your gut. It's more than just a feeling. Be real with people and focus on meaningful relationships. Remember, you must also bring value to the table. Treat others with respect, or else karma will bite your ass. 3 is a crowd. And then 0220, act on your idea. Realistic and practical approach. Goals. Divine timing, ambition, cooperation, and discipline. You have the benefit of good fortune, and if you use your wise judgment, you can do anything. In this place, you can reach new heights. You should act on your potential when you see this pattern, since what you plant will grow. You're about to experience a spectacular ascent. That is beautiful. All right, so just use discernment, support your positive relationships, and embrace the ascent. All right, group number 3. I hope that you found this reading helpful. If it resonated, please let me know how in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to become a part of the family but haven't done so, you can hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know whenever I upload a new video. And if you're interested in a personal reading with me, you can find my contact information in the description box down below. Just shoot me an email and we will get started on the conversation. Bye.